Hello and welcome to the next lecture where we're going to speak a little bit about cache. So we actually touched cache a little bit in the previous few lectures about the web, I think. So today we're going to see a little bit more about it because this is a large and important topic because with cache you can flatten, smooth your API if you have some issues, and of course you can harm as well if you don't use it correctly, but let's see one example that you can use. So I create a default Quarkus Backend plugin, create tech to now artifact ID will be cache, and then we have a weather resource and the path will be weather. So you can predict that we're gonna just predict the weather, or not predict, but use something. And yeah, so I'll use extensions as well. So we'll have a cache, Quarkus/cache, and then the rest easy JSON-B. So we'll have two additional extensions. So let's create, actually, sorry, I'll need to go back by one folder, and let's actually copy it over. No, we can't. So let's, yeah, like this. And then -d extensions equals cache and JSON-B, rest easy JSON-B. So again, you can add them the other way. I'll show you one of them in a second. So you can either add an extensions like this. So you can see that it added two extensions, IO Quarkus cache and IO Quarkus rest easy JSON-B. So yeah, let's let's open it up in IntelliJ IDEA. So we have our cache project opened, right? And let's actually modify a little bit our weather. So what we want to have is we want to have a query param. So let's rename it get weather, something like this. So let's get a query param that will be called city, string city, right? That's it. Will have basically, so we'll get a city and we'll get back the current, let's say the current weather for the city, right? So let's create actually an output that we're gonna provide. So in this video we won't touch the database at all, but so let's weather, something like this, right? So we'll have a weather, we'll have a let's use public, right? Public string city, public integer, let's say we're gonna use let's actually use string and status, right? So we'll have like some different statuses for a city, and so yeah, so we'll get city is an input, and we're gonna use a service. Let's create a weather service as well, weather service, and this will be of course application scoped. And let's create a public weather, provide weather, something like this, right? And then of course string city. So we want to return the weather, but before we do that, let's create a public string get weather status. So in this line, let's say we're gonna cache, we're gonna do some super expensive task, right? So what we're gonna do is a thread sleep, of course, for like 2 seconds, right? Let's surround with strike, and so here let's return some boolean, right? So new random, I don't do it in a production, but next boolean like this. So if it will be true, then return sunny. Otherwise, let's return let it be like rainy or something like this, right? So yeah, so this will sleep for 2 seconds and then return something, right? So some weather, right? And so yeah, so here we'll firstly call the get weather status, right? Weather status, and then yeah, let's actually fix our weather. So let's, okay, whatever. So let's return a new weather, and this weather, so let's populate it. Let's actually create a constructor for these two values, and let's create city and then a weather status like this. So we'll create a new weather and return it like this. So yeah, so now let's say that we gonna inject it, of course, weather service. Okay, that will work as a service because we have the weather in the name of the resource. And so we'll return the weather like this. And yeah, so let's actually, yeah, so we'll return the service, get provide weather for a city like this, right? So this is like super simple, just to show you how it's working. So now if we're gonna go to Postman and query the weather, and then city will be I don't know, Miami. So this, you will see that firstly, of course, we need to start the app, right? So let's go to the cache, cd cache, and then maven Quarkus dev. We can start our app like this, and so to load some of the dependencies that we need. Yeah, so it's ready. So let's query it one more time, and you will see that it takes 2 seconds to get the weather. And actually, I forgot to produce this JSON, of course. So don't forget to put a produces application JSON. So we wait 2 seconds, and you can see that city Miami status rainy, right? So something like this. So yeah, this time it took 3 seconds because the app should wait a little bit before restart. Now it's 2 seconds exactly. So how to fix it? The fix is super easy, of course, is to use cache. So let's say you have a service like this. It's like a little bit stupid service, but let's say it's like super feature rich, right? So you have a lot of features there, but the idea is that it just returns the status of the weather in some city. And let's say you have 1,000 requests, 10,000 requests per minute or per second. And so everyone will wait 2 seconds before like you can get the result. That's like a red flag straight from the start, and the users will go to the other service that won't provide this such an issue. So this can be fixed super easy. So you just put a cache result. So this means that with this annotation you say that you want to cache result, and you need to specify cache name. Let's say it will be weather status or something like this. So this will be just the name of the cache. That will be helpful. Now if we restart and execute it one more time, you'll see that it took 2.6 seconds, but next time it's like 12, like 10 milliseconds. That's like super fast, right? Well, I mean, not the super fast, but tolerable comparing to 2 seconds. So yeah, so this is not only what you can do with the cache, of course. So you can also put here a cache key. You have more than like one value, so you can specify by which field you want to cache. So by default it will use city, of course, but in this case you will specify that you want to cache by this key. So if it's like Miami, then you want to query the Miami. If it's like Frankfurt, then you want to have a Frankfurt here, and vice versa. So yeah, so that's one option. So the other thing that you can do with the caching is create empty methods. You'll see why. Invalidate, let's say date, and then string city. You can put it like this. We don't need it. So you can put cache invalidate like this, and then cache name, of course, should correspond to the cache name. In our case, it's weather status. And yeah, now let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's go to the Postman. And so let's query Miami. Oh yeah, sorry. So yeah, we called this, we created this method, but we need to have an endpoint to call this method from somewhere. So let's create a duplicate of this field, except it won't produce anything, and it will be response. And so let's say delete, right? Whatever. So we'll use delete to delete weather cache. So it will be like admin service, but whatever, right? So you call the invalidate, and after that you return response, okay, right? Something like this. It's super simple, but just to show you what's going on. So with the invalidate method, you can invalidate or remove cache for some key. Not all the cache that you have, but let's say you have a city Miami, you query it once, it will take 2 seconds, right? You query it twice, it's 16 seconds. You can also query Frankfurt. So it will also take 2 seconds because it's a new city, but next time you'll see that it's basically endless, right? So you have a cache here, you can call Miami as well, it will be fast. But now what you can do is you can call delete for Miami, for example, right? It will show you okay, and you can query, so you can query Frankfurt with no problems, 8 milliseconds, right? And then, but if you call Miami this time, you'll see that it takes 2 seconds to complete, and that's logical because you just invalidated the cache, right? So other thing that you can do is you can create invalidate all method. Name of the method is whatever, so it's not required to name it as you want, but you can create a invalidate all, and of course the name of the annotation will be of course cache invalidate all, and you specify here a cache name, which is again the same. So the cache name, so you can see that we have here a cache key, right? And then you have also a cache name. So what's the difference? So the key, so cache basically in our case is a map, right? You have a key, in our case city, you have a value, in our case it's weather object with the name of the city and status of the weather, right? So you can call this cache invalidate or cache result not from only this service, but you can have like 3 services using the same cache if you need it, of course. Maybe you, I don't know, maybe you have 2 services, one of which can have only write permissions, right? So you use it only for creating new cache, the other one for reading or something like this, I don't know, just, or invalidation or something like this. So you want to split services. So you're not limited to one cache name, but if you have logical separation, for example, for this one we have a cache for the weather. So if you want to cache users, so you'll name in user or user status or user whatever, right? So you can have different caches, and inside of the cache you have a map, which is key to value. In our case, it's city to status. So yeah, so, and invalidate all will remove all the keys basically. Invalidate all the cache in this weather status. Invalidate single, so cache invalidate method. Let me make it again a little bit larger for you. So cache invalidate will invalidate only one key that was specified by the field. So now we can actually, let's go to the weather resource, and let's say if city equals now, we want to call service invalidate all, else let's call the invalidate like this. So let's go back to Postman, let's call it Miami one more time, and we'll get the rainy. So Frankfurt, let's call it Frankfurt, we get the sunny. So you can call it Frankfurt and Miami whatever you how many times you like. Now let's remove this part and call the delete on the weather, send, it says okay. And now if we put in Miami, we'll wait another 2 seconds, and again Frankfurt will wait again 2 seconds. So you can see the idea how it works. And yeah, so you can also specify a lot of stuff with the application properties. I'll link the keys down below. So one example will be Quarkus cache caffeine. So caffeine is a underlying library that use it for caching everywhere. It's including the Spring. You have the caching logic implemented in caffeine. Quarkus uses the same thing, and a lot of stuff uses this library as well. It's really convenient, really useful. So one option is Quarkus cache caffeine after write, and then we can specify, for example, 20s, which will be 20 seconds, right? So this field will specify how long the cache will work, and actually here we need to specify the cache name. In our case, it's where is it? Weather status, right? Like this. So it should be like a string. I missed the E in the caffeine name. So yeah, so now, so Quarkus cache caffeine weather status expire after write 20 seconds. So let's go to our Postman. Let's query the Frankfurt, and you can see that it was 2 seconds. Let's wait a little bit. So now we execute a few times, and now we just wait 20 seconds, after which it will expire. So while we're waiting, just want to say that you now know how to use cache. It's super easy, super simple. I'll link some of the key below to this video, so you can configure it more or less if you want. So yeah, you can see that we waited 20 seconds, and it's again 2 seconds waiting, and then you have your waiting again. So yeah, so one last thing that I want to mention is that this cache key should be used when you some of the methods shouldn't be included into the cache. So by default, all the fields that you specify, all the parameters, they will work as a key to a cache. So in this example, this all 3 fields will be used to invalidate a key, to invalidate some cache. Same thing will go in this case, but if you want to omit one of the fields, right? So for example, you have string city, and then you have I don't know, string random key or something like this, right? So in this case, if you have this cache key, this random key won't be interpreted as key for cache. So whatever you have here, cache will be always the same because of the city. So it only reads for the city. So yeah, now you know how to use cache. It was super easy, super simple, and yeah. So again, you need only to add one dependency called Quarkus cache. REST easy JSONB is for the output to the REST API. Yeah, thank you for watching, and see you in the next lecture.